Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
I named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints.
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my friend Yendub.
Lopty Nick.
Hi, Frank. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? As we record, it's May the 4th.
It is May the 4th. It is May the 4th, so May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you, and with your Force Ghost. Yes.
Thank you. Actually, I have a Force Ghost here with us today. We have Force Ghost Andrew, who is the co-host of Tolkien TV Talk, the Force Ghost podcast of the Thought Bubble Audio Network, because we haven't recorded an episode in so long because that show has not come out yet, so there's really no rush. So,
True.
So Andrew, how are you today?
Hello there. I'm doing well.
Little Kenobi.
Oh, very good. Very good. I don't know where the end up came from, by the way. I don't know why
that was great. That
came into my head first.
I was.
Hey,
took me by surprise,
whatever you
like
want to call, whatever character you want to pick for Frank, I got to be Kenobi just now, so I'm
That's
fine
true.
with it.
That's true. I could have gone anywhere, but that's I don't know. I'm sorry. That's not how I think of you. If that makes you feel better, you're really more of a.
It's all good.
You're really more of a Chewbacca in his like. Yeah, exactly. Very good. Very good. Speaking of you holding your beer can to the screen, Frank, what are you drinking?
Yeah, so I don't have any Star Wars themed beers, but I do have my Chewbacca koozie. So I was just showing the guys that over Skype here. I have my Chewbacca koozie. But I am drinking, Tim, it's not a Star Wars themed beer, but it is a beer that might be of interest to you in particular. This is a Whalers Rhode Island. That's the name of the Whalers Brewery.
I've had that. Yes.
Rise American APA.
Yes, I've had that. I went to a brew at the zoo.
Oh,
and I
right
had
on.
that.
Love
yeah.
brew at the zoo.
Yeah, I do too. Brew
It's a
at the
dry
zoo.
hopped
Great.
American Pale Ale. I really like it. I really, really like it. It's kind of like it's got kind of a Hefeweizen feel to it, flavor to it, but it's an APA. So it's pretty light. It's pretty like hazy and yellowish, and it's got sort of a honey melon flavor. It's good. I like it. It's kind of like a tea almost. I'm way into it. I like it a lot. So it's the Rise APA from Whalers of Rhode Island, and it's great. I like it.
Oh, I love that. Andrew, are you drinking anything?
Did
you drink something earlier?
No, I'm trying this new whole like health thing. So high, carby drinks are probably off the table for a while.
Fair.
But I've got some chamomile, so
Ooh.
I'm doing that.
Lovely.
That's very Ben Kenobi of you.
It is, isn't it?
And-
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it tracks.
Yeah, it does. It does. Meanwhile, I am drinking. It's like you're like, I have a tea, and meanwhile, I'm drinking something called Decadent. I'm drinking a orange cream pop from Decadent Ales. It's an India Pale Ale with vanilla extract and orange puree.
Wow.
Yes, indeed. It is from Decadent Ales is from Stratford, Connecticut. And to be perfectly honest, it's just okay. I don't love it.
Interesting.
It's a little flat. And don't get me wrong, there is like the carbonated beer fizz to it, but I think the orange puree comes in a little strong and flattens out some of the beer. Although that could be the India Pale Ale itself, actually.
Interesting.
Not positive. It's good, but if you actually wanted an orange cream pop, this is not a good substitute. Let's put it that way.
Okay, fair. That's fair enough.
Yeah, I would be willing to try to freeze this to make an orange freeze pop out of it, but it is very hard to freeze beer, as John Proctor once told us.
That's true.
From the Crucible.
Guys, I had it. That reminds me. I had a tragic incident a few weeks ago that I'm still recovering from. You reminded me with the John Proctor quote. I
really
got a bunch of
specific.
I got a bunch of really nice 1-pint growlers, like those growler cans, from a brewery here in town. Had a bunch of their beers that they only serving like on tap, but they were putting them in growlers so you could take it home, and they curbside pickup and all this stuff. So I got it home. I put it in the back of my fridge to like get it nice and cold for like the next day. And I made the mistake of putting it in like there's an extreme back corner of my fridge where beer cans explode.
No.
And the whole pint of this beer that you can only get at the brewery exploded all over the back of my fridge, and I didn't get to enjoy any of it.
Oh no!
So I'm still a bit scarred by it, to be honest. I'm a little sensitive, a little tender. But
Frank, was there an injustice being done in your house at the time?
I wanted to rebel against it so badly.
Yeah, that's terrible. Oh man, I feel like at this point I think we should veer away from Star Wars and talk about the Crucible for half an hour.
I'm not prepared for that.
I am. I could always talk about the Crucible. Yeah. Abigail, it's not that bad. Line in the sand. No, I'm just kidding. She's the worst. Yeah. She's the worst.
That is a take.
Yeah, no, it's not a take that I'm going to claim, believe me. So, anyway, let's talk about Star Wars, but specifically, gentlemen, let's talk about the last season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which ended today as we are recording this.
That is true. That is very true.
Now, Frank, you and I already talked about seasons 1 through 6 of The Clone Wars on a previous episode, so let's leave everything 1 through 6 off the table for now. We're just going to talk about season 7. And we really want to talk about that last arc, but let's talk about the first 2 arcs of the show first to give them their due diligence, and then we can move on. So I'll start. The first arc was fun. I enjoyed it. It was like the Suicide Squad-ish, but Star Wars. And the second arc was just okay. It was great to see Ahsoka, and the end.
Basically, yeah.
They both certainly happened.
Yeah, you know, if this was it's because when I watched Clone Wars to like get up to speed for 7, I did like the essential 66 episodes. I didn't like watch every like droid episode and like all these, you know, the ones that are veered towards the younger audiences. And I was thinking about that while watching season 7. I'm like, which one would any of these be cut? And I think the first 2 arcs would not make it into that like essential episode list. You could argue the Ahsoka arc because it's like, what did she do between leaving the Jedi Temple and ending up here? And in that way, it is kind of essential, but like the story itself and what is happening is not super important to the Star Wars canon.
Yeah, like I feel like if you could watch like if you were to include the essential stuff from that arc, it would be like the beginning of the first episode where it's like, oh, look, it's Ahsoka. She's like around doing stuff. And then the last bit when she gets, when she ends up going off with the Mandalorians.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I will say, I think the second arc will become more necessary because I have a feeling the Martez sisters are going to stick around.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
Either in comics or another animated property or a video game or something. I feel like the or a novel, the Martez sisters will be a character of some kind. So if they are depending on how big they become in sort of the continuity, this arc might be something you might want to look back at as like the origin or the first appearance of the Martez sisters.
Yeah. And I want to be clear, I actually didn't completely dislike that arc. Like, it wasn't
Same.
like when will this be over?
It was
kind
just
of
okay
feeling.
though. It was just okay.
Yeah, it was fine. I enjoyed segments of it, but it was definitely not a I'm riveted to my seat arc. Not in the way that some other arcs on the show have been.
Yeah, it was a good arc. It was like a decent arc from like the middle of the series or something. It was no different.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like that arc in particular, and in a lot of cases, specifically the Martez sisters, are getting a lot of flack on things like prequel memes or whatever on Reddit and stuff. And I think a lot of that is because there was a huge gap before this season happened, and it was sort of a surprise season. I mean, I feel like if that gap didn't, like, I feel like the first two arcs of this season will seem much better when watching the whole series in like a more of a binge kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the anticipation of like
Yeah.
the anticipation makes you be like, wait, this is what we get the first time you see Ahsoka back. But at the same time, if they had just jumped right into like from where we saw her last to like the final arc of the season, it would be too much. So we needed something in the middle there.
No, I 100% agree. You needed something before, and I think it eased us back into the Clone Wars, feeling comfortable with the familiar a bit before we got hit with the magnificent, amazing final arc.
It was.
Not to play my hand too soon there, but it was amazing.
Well, why don't you actually start us off? I think we've said all we want to say about those first two arcs. So let's dive into this last four episode arc. It plays like a movie, even with the original like Lucasfilm like logos and parts and all of that stuff. I was not prepared.
No, I was absolutely not. I mean, I kept trying to talk. I mean, since the season was announced, I'm like, if we're going to see Order 66, I'm going to be devastated. And I was still not ready with months of preparation for that. So.
Not emotionally prepared.
Am I dumb to like forget that like we were gonna see Order 66? Like, for some reason, I just always assumed that the show would end before Revenge of the Sith.
I did too. I always assumed that it would take us into the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. Like maybe the last shot of the show would be the very first shot of Revenge of the Sith where they're in that battle. Like that was the Battle of Coruscant was what I thought would be the first.
That was how the original like Clone Wars animated miniseries ended, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And that
I
is
haven't
how
watched that
like
in so many years.
Neither have I. It's amazing. I've seen clips of it recently, again on like prequel memes, because they love it, rightfully so. But one of the amazing things that Mace Windu just like completely disintegrating one of the battle droids with the it's amazing. Anyway,
I do remember that.
You mean Mace Windu, the sole reason the Jedi collapsed in on itself? Mace Windu.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't like him anymore, but that's a whole other issue. One thing that I did like, if we're going to go, if we're going to do this justice, right off the bat in the like opening shots where they're sort of reestablishing where everyone is, there was a really fun little cameo of what seemed to be a very young Kanan from Rebels.
Kanan
Really?
Really? So he was in a it was like briefly where they're just like in the very beginning of the first episode of this arc where they're like showing where everyone is, and there was a shot of a bunch of Jedi around in like holograms around a strategic hollow table or whatever.
Yes.
And they showed him as a young Padawan with his master, who I don't remember off the top of my head, but
well, looks like I'm just gonna have to go back and watch it all over again just to watch that. Oh well.
I thought it was him, and then I rewatched that episode again today because it's Star Wars Day and there's only so much schoolwork I can do. So, and then they like made a point of zooming in on him. So,
oh yeah,
I was like, all right, so that has to be Kanan then.
Yeah, no question. Out of the 4 episodes, do you think that they blend well together and that every character kind of gets their just send off at particular times? I was thinking about this because as the episodes go on, like they become it actually becomes like smaller in scope, where it actually like starts big with like Obi-Wan and Anakin and this battle, and then as it slowly goes into and parallels along with Revenge of the Sith, it becomes a really smaller scale story of just Ahsoka and Rex and Maul, and that's it. You don't get any other Clone Wars characters because they all have their live action due in Revenge of the Sith. So you don't see the Chancellor, you don't see after the second episode, you don't see really any members of the Jedi Council, or Anakin or Obi-Wan or anybody, and it's just Ahsoka. And so like instead of like cramming everybody in, they just let the movie be the movie, and they let Clone Wars be Clone Wars. And I thought that was really smart, because if you put them side by side, you're watching as Ahsoka rises past the dark side and Anakin just falls right into it at the very end. And I thought that was a great juxtaposition, paralleled super well in these last 4 episodes. Somebody speak.
It's like we got Anakin's Padawan believed his teachings more than he did.
100%.
Oh yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
But Ahsoka has the ability to believe them because she doesn't have attachments the way her attachment is Anakin. And so like she doesn't have the very thing that is what is halting Anakin from believing his own teachings.
Yeah, that's right. She is just more, she's like more devoted to sort of the she's more of like a true believer of the principles of the Jedi Order. And like a follower of the light side of the Force in a way that he's kind of his attachments stop him from being able to sort of let go and be that same Jedi Knight that she's able to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in a weird way that makes his fall all the more tragic, because like what he was saying does work, is the truth. It's almost like somebody. It's like do as I say and not as I do. Anakin is pretty much the founding principle of that in the Star Wars galaxy. Like you should do this and this and this, and he doesn't really do any of them. But that's a lot of that is mostly on Anakin himself. It's not really on anybody too. So like you can't blame Obi-Wan for that. You can't blame Ahsoka or even the Jedi Council. Like he is who he is, and but Ahsoka was able to go past who she is, and I think that's the biggest difference. Because like if you look at her character growth on Clone Wars from the start of the show to the end, she has grown as a person into the teachings of the Jedi, even though she left the Jedi Order. And Anakin, like, never really stopped being Anakin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. It kind of relates to something that I had heard someone say, like, what role did Ahsoka play in Anakin's downfall? Like, had she been there, would he maybe not have turned to the dark side? Like, did she have an influence? Could she have had an influence? Would she have had an influence on his falling for Palpatine's sort of the grand plan put together by Palpatine? Was her not being around for Anakin part of Palpatine's plan?
I would say yes, probably that, like, to set, but I mean her leaving the Jedi Order and everything, like, it feels a little orchestrated, in like obviously in like in everything, but I think that maybe he just felt like she was going to get taken out in Order 66 either way. But I think
Sure.
if she had like, let's say she had been in Palpatine's office when like Mace Windu was there and like Kit Fisto, like she, like, and everybody's there, and Anakin comes rushing in, and then he's like, "No, I need him," and then Ahsoka comes in like, "No, Master." I don't think you could have stopped Anakin at that point.
Yeah, at that specific point, I feel probably not. But if in the like between when in the show she left and that moment, I feel like her being around more would have been helpful for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then who knows what that would have done to her too? Because I feel like a lot of her growth as a character happened in that not being there. She definitely grew a lot between the last time we saw her and this season.
That's totally valid.
That's a great point.
So who even knows?
And you could, and then on top of that, you're looking at it like, you know, Star Wars is all about destiny, right? What is your destiny to end up this way? Your fate to end up in certain positions and all that stuff. And the final scene of the fourth episode, which I think was mind blowing. Like, it was
amazing.
Like, I can't believe that I'm looking at Darth Vader on Clone Wars. That just threw me for a loop. I loved it so very much. Actually, when the first trooper, like stormtrooper, not clone trooper, came into the frame, I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
I've never seen a stormtrooper before.
But
it
was beautiful though.
Yeah,
it was.
I know.
And you just know that those two stormtroopers used to be clone troopers. Like, specifically,
that's actually very possible. Yeah, because it's undetermined how long, you know, that ship had been there. It could have been a couple days. It could have been a week. But anyway, my point was, so Vader looks up at the sky and sees the Mortis bird there, right? Mm-hmm. You know, like, so, and he's holding Ahsoka's lightsaber. So she is kind of like, so he gets it that like he's the light side, or she's the light side and he's the dark side, right? She's the sister and he's the brother.
Totally.
And so I guess my, like, that shot is that Star Wars, is that Dave Filoni telling us this is the way it was going to happen because the Force willed it to happen this way. You know, Anakin was going to fall so he could rise again. That's like, that was going to happen.
That's the whole arc that they have to follow, right? Like, that's how the Force gets put back into balance. And the whole thing was that Anakin had to fall and Luke had to be there to bring him back. Mm-hmm. And Ahsoka is part of that story too.
That's right. Yeah. I have gone on record in saying that I didn't care much about clone-centric episodes. They're just like, that's not one of my draws to Clone Wars. But within that record, it also says that I like do care about people like Rex and Cody. And I think it's what is so interesting is that Cody does not get redeemed, but Rex does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's because, and tell me what you guys think, but I feel like it's because Ahsoka and Rex are the two. Are they the only two characters that were created for Clone Wars? Of the main sort of bunch?
But the main cast, I think so, because Cody was in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Right. So my thought was that's why we hyper focused on those two at the end, because those are the two who we don't get to see in any of the movies.
That's, you know, I think you're 100%. I think you're 100% right there. Because if this is Star Wars Clone Wars, then you wrap up with the characters that are original to Clone Wars.
Yeah. One of my favorite little details that got retconned into other stuff later, which is usually something I don't approve of, but I thought this worked very nicely. Apparently Rex was at Endor.
Really? Oh, that's right.
Yes.
He's like the bearded guy that runs around the corner or something like that. That's right.
So that's one of my favorite things.
Because did they base his look on? Did they base his look from Rebels on that guy,
I believe
from. That's cool. I guess I have to go back and watch Return of the Jedi now.
always.
Shucks.
Oh no.
I have to watch Return of the Jedi. I was actually listening to the soundtrack on vinyl earlier today.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't have that one on vinyl. I only have Star Wars on vinyl. I don't have any others.
Same.
I have episodes 6, 7, and 8 actually. Weirdly, what a
What's
random
a weird
arbitrary
assortment,
combo.
but that's cool.
Yeah, I just happens to be the one that I've the ones I've picked up for when the time has been right, But
Sure.
I haven't actively sought out the rest of them, so that's my own doing.
Fair.
So to be rectified by lovely listeners who would love to give me gifts. No? All right. No? All right.
Well, the force is strong with this one.
beerwithgeeks@gmail.com.
I tried. So anyway, what are your top moments from these four? I know Frank's favorite question. What are your favorite moments?
Okay, I'm just going to jump in with the first two that jump into my mind because of how absolutely soul-crushingly devastating they were, and they were the 2 times that Rex cried in this arc.
Oh, they were the worst. Yes, I agree. Oh, I never finished my thought. Yeah, like these last 4 episodes, I was like, I do care about the clones. It was like it was like it was like this revelatory moment where I was like, well, maybe I don't care about all of them, but I definitely care about Rex. Like,
okay.
Wow.
I was like, you started that thought by saying like, I've gone on record saying that that I don't love all the clones episodes, and I was like, that's a weird flex, but okay. That's fine. I don't either, but like, I didn't feel the need to be like, by the way, those clone episodes not great.
We got distracted, and I meant to resolve that with, Rex crying made me realize that I actually did care, or I do care.
Well, like immediately after Order 66 is given, he's taking charge of that order because he wants to get that one last thing out of go find the information on Fives because you need to know what's going on. And also that gives the loss of Fives meaning.
Yes.
Because it's not just for nothing. Because that was devastating too.
Yes.
But now it's devastating, but with a purpose. And yeah, oh my goodness. There was it's hard to pick a favorite moment though. Like those were just the 2 that stuck out because I wanted to talk about them. But I mean, it was so masterfully done. Frank, say something else before I say another one.
Honestly, a moment that I'll remember for the way it made me feel is starting the first episode of this arc and seeing the Lucasfilm Limited logo, the simple green sans serif font, and then the red logo for Clone Wars. That was as meaningful to me as I would say it's honestly almost as meaningful to me as the first time that I got to see a Star Wars film in a theater and saw the crawl start, on a big screen for the first time.
I'm with you. I had the exact same feeling. It's just like the crawl. Mm-hmm.
Don't forget that we also got the Star Wars theme playing in the Clone Wars, which was fantastic.
That's right. The orchestration, not the Kevin Kiner adapted theme. Yeah.
Which is also great, but this was like, nope, this is Star Wars now.
Here exactly. We go. This is
the music across all 4 episodes was like, this is Star Wars.
Cinematic.
By the way,
the whole final arc was cinematic, where you can tell it was designed to be a movie. Like the way the show started with a movie, it ended with a movie. In my opinion, in my estimation,
a much better movie.
Such a much better movie. Oh my god, it's not even funny. I wish it had gotten a theatrical release. I wonder if there would have been, Fathom event screenings or something if we weren't in the situation that we're in.
I feel like probably.
Mm-hmm. Probably. Maybe there will be even one day.
I hope so. But like that, even just the way that like you could tell they went into this arc treating it like a movie as opposed to the original movie we got, which was, I guess we're going to do a theatrical release. Let's take a couple of episodes and put that together. There were just some shots that you got like like wide angle shots of like Ahsoka and Rex, and like, or there was one with Ahsoka and Anakin walking up. Like, it's just, this was just, the cinematography was stellar. Not
I agree.
To be
Yep.
punny,
Yeah.
but it's
there's the speaking of cinematography and stuff, the Maul's come to the dark side conversation with her was extremely like extremely cinematic, but it was framed like every come to the dark side conversation. Like, they all play off of one another in the same format, and I love that it's the apprentice with the Padawan having this conversation, because normally it's the master and the master, or it's something like that, but this is like, it's like the like middle management version of you know of this.
A middle management like Coup or something, like,
kind of, yeah. They're like, no, we could be playing golf on Friday afternoons. Like,
another thing that I just remembered weirdly that needs to be mentioned, that ties in with like the cinematic scope of everything, was just how incredibly beautiful and fluid the duel between Ahsoka and Maul on Mandalore was.
That was some great Ray Park mocap.
You could tell that it was like,
you could tell it was him. You could
tell it was him. Is this the first time that they've done that on this show? Like, are they regularly doing that?
I don't think so. No, actually, if you watch the way that they move, I was thinking about it watching that fight, because it felt like there was weight to them. Even the way Maul moved, I was like, he's slower in this fight than we've seen him in other episodes, because it's mocap.
Right.
Because normally they're leaping like nobody can leap. And, you know, like, think about that fight between, I think it was Savage and Maul and the Sidious, I think, is that right?
Oh,
you know,
yes.
like, in the way that fight play, like, that's not how humans move. Like,
sure.
Or
it was in the same room too,
move.
or at least where it started.
Right. That's true. That room is rife for duels.
Yeah, wow.
But so no, there's definitely a shift here, and I loved, because Ray Park has a very distinctive style.
Yeah.
And when you like watch him fight as Maul for years and years, from Phantom Menace, you recognize it when you see it, and I think that was pretty special.
It was amazing. It was just it gave it so much more gravitas, I guess, to have it. Just, it felt more real.
It actually, it's funny when characters have weight like that. It actually feels like there is like metaphorical weight. There's
that's what I mean.
Yeah. There's an importance to this fight. You can feel it in their movements. Ahsoka jumping out of the airship without a parachute, Captain America style, and like making her way down to the ground before Rex. One of my favorite Clone Wars scenes ever. I was like, she's just the coolest. I saw a tweet earlier today. It was like 2008. Ahsoka Tano was the worst thing to happen to Star Wars. 2020. Ahsoka Tano was one of the best things to happen to Star Wars.
It's so
since
accurate.
I Am Your Father. Like, that's,
Can we just talk about the turnaround, like the complete 180 that pretty much the entire Star Wars fandom has had for Ahsoka Tano, where she really was like annoying when she came out in the film. It was like, why is she here? Why does Anakin, and how can you justify Anakin having a Padawan? Why is she so annoying? Sky Guy, R2E, are you kidding me? And now she is one of my most beloved characters, up there with the original, our original beloved, like the big three of the original trilogy and everything. Like, she is this beloved character now.
Her avatar is my Disney Plus icon right now. I changed everybody on my account to Star Wars accounts. So I'm Ahsoka, and my sister and brother-in-law are Baby Yoda, and because my nephew, my less than 2-year-old nephew, loves his Yoda stuffed animal stuffed toy that I got him.
Nice.
And my wife is a Porg. Which, if you know her, tracks. So,
well done, you.
I told her I changed it to a pork, and she was like, "Thank you, thank you."
Wow.
Mine is Din Djarin, so I'm rocking the whole Mando look.
Good,
because I never managed to get one of those Mandalorian helmets, and I always wanted one.
Well, maybe Santa will be kind to you 1 year before you turn 90.
I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows? Indeed. Do you like how intricate Maul was in these last couple of episodes? Do you feel like he was so important to Star Wars that it was actually important to see him in these last couple episodes? Frank,
I did like how intricate Maul was. I loved Maul in this arc. Sam Witwer, oh my God, I've loved Sam Witwer for as long as this has been a show. Actually,
yep, 2008. Yeah,
2008 was when he kind of came on my radar, and from being on Smallville, and wow, this is like the best thing I've ever seen from Sam Witwer, and I like his whole Maul performance since he came on the scene has been fantastic, and this was outstanding. I loved everything about Maul in this whole arc. I love the way that this bridged the story of Maul, of how did we get from Maul returning, Spider Maul, to Solo, basically. This kind of filled in the gaps of like how we got from one place to the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, and he will. I mean, he's on Rebels too, so there's even like the tail end after Solo too. You know, like what's happening afterwards. You know, and then because Rebels is 5 years before New Hope, and Solo is 10, right? So it gives you first 15, like, you know, gives you. Yeah. There's a 15-year gap still that I like. Oh, what have you been up to? I want to know. Give me a Sam Witwer Darth Maul series, please.
There are more stories to tell still, and I can't wait to hear them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rumor is that he's going to be on the Cassian Andor show.
I've heard that.
Some of the threads that they dropped in Solo will be picked up in that show because it takes place around the same time as Rebels. I think it's 5 years before. So I hope that's true because I think that was one of the more interesting parts of Solo.
Yeah. Had there been another one or the films that they were planning to make with Benioff and Weiss, or I don't know, like, oh no, those would have been an earlier era, I guess. But still, had there been plans that hadn't been canceled after Solo, it would have been really, really cool to see where they were going to go with that. And I hope we still get to see that told somehow.
Yeah, we still have. Well, so Disney also announced today that Taika Waititi is going to be taking a Star Wars show, a Star Wars movie. I'm sorry, which is very exciting if you're Taika fans, which I am.
Same.
And they also announced that there was going to be a new Star Wars Disney Plus show, live action. I can't remember who the showrunner is, and I don't have it in front of me. But it's not the same woman who Flea. It's not the same woman who
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
No, I don't think it's Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but she's not the showrunner of Fleabag, is she?
She is. It's her show, and she stars in it as well.
Oh, okay. I don't think it's Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but I could be wrong about that. Who was in Solo, actually? Now that
she was,
was,
yes.
Immortalized forever inside the Millennium Falcon. I can't remember, but a strong rumor is that it's going to be an Ahsoka Tano show. So if Rosario Dawson's casting as Ahsoka in The Mandalorian is true, that it will also actually spin into her own show.
Right. I would be absolutely thrilled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not yet been confirmed, but it seems to be pretty reliable based on the people talking about like the conversation seems to be like it's a pretty good source that came from. But yeah, you're right. It hasn't been officially confirmed yet, so I guess
it hasn't. But I think people would flip their lids if there was a live action Ahsoka television show. I think that would be pretty spectacular.
I would.
Yeah,
I would. Especially if it was Rosario. Actually, because she would do a bang up job. Like really.
No doubt it.
Yeah. How do you feel like the Ashley Eckstein should be her in live action, or?
I mean, I will first off say that she is absolutely amazing, and has again made us over the years love a character who we started off hating. So
yeah,
well done, Ashley Eckstein. But
we met her a couple years ago. Do any of you remember this? At least I did, and I think Frank did, and I don't know if Andrew. I don't know if you were there.
I wasn't.
No, she was at a con for her universe. Yeah. And we had stopped at her booth and met her, but I didn't watch the show when I met her.
I don't know if I was with you then. I met her also because of her universe, I think in Atlanta one year.
Oh, okay. So it was not at the same.
But I don't think I was with you when that happened for you. No.
Gotcha. Yeah, she's very nice.
She's very nice.
She seems it.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with to answer your original question. I'm okay with the idea of other people playing the character. I mean, look at how many people have played Anakin, for example. I mean, it's
right.
I'm fine with the idea of it, and I think that the potential of Rosario Dawson is amazing. I really look forward to seeing how that would play out. I'm just really excited for, again, if you had told me this in 2008, I believe I said this in a text message to you guys, I would still be laughing now, but yeah. I cannot wait to see more Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I really hope that we do get that Ahsoka spinoff show, because it would have to be amazing. Given what they're doing with their shows lately, it's I can't wait for more Mandalorian. I'm really looking forward to what they're doing.
I know.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. That reminded me. You said look at all the people who played Anakin. Use of actual Revenge of the Sith audio inside of Clone Wars when she has her Force premonition. Heck yes.
Amazing.
Oh my. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
It was.
Yep. And then actually, and then even to use, because they did both. They used real audio, and they added some stuff. Or they had voice actors re-saying some of the lines, like Mace Windu's, like the holograph meeting. Like, that was not Samuel L. Jackson, but it was the same dialogue, right? And so I think,
and even they had the same, like, if you look at like a side by side, which a bunch of people on various places in the internet have done, they've got the same like head motions. One that sticks out is Ki-Adi-Mundi like does a head tilt at one point, and it's exactly the same amount, exactly same time, exact same intonation in what he's saying. I'm like,
yeah,
it was so much attention to detail.
Yeah,
could you send me those? I have not seen that.
Yeah, I'll find it.
It's pretty great. The vocal performances are the same cadence, and they really did try to recreate those scenes of dialogue in the same way that as closely as they possibly could have.
Yeah, it was. I mean, again, you could tell that every single person involved absolutely loves Star Wars and loves this era of Star Wars, because they got it spot on.
Yeah, and it's funny in an era where people are like, "Oh, Disney doesn't get Star Wars," and like all this stuff. Like a couple things here. One, this came out under the Disney era, and I think that's an important thing to put out there. Like, Disney can put out Star Wars that is Star Wars, but I also think at the same time Disney needs to look at some of the stuff they're putting out, like right here, and watch everybody go, that was amazing, great job, that was Star Wars. Like, the fan community any fan community for anything is rarely satisfied with a finale. So rarely are people satisfied, and myself included in that. Like, endings are really hard to pull off, and this was one of the most satisfying endings ever. Although I do think they have the added benefit of, like, the Clone Wars actually ended in Revenge of the Sith, So, so they had it in a weird way, a different task ahead of them to end the show, but I think they knocked it out of the park. Even thinking about like at the beginning of these 4 episodes, like all the clone troopers painted their helmets to like honor Ahsoka, and by the end of those 4 episodes, they've all tried to kill her, and she's like tried to not kill them, and then she honors them with her own, basically her face on a helmet staring back at her. Like there's something really beautiful and haunting and terrible about that.
Well, that was in like the whole build up to Order 66 happening. We got at least 2 or 3 times someone mentioning how loyal the clones are.
Yep.
I think Anakin mentioned it twice. Rex mentioned it at least twice. And, you know, Ahsoka's like, oh, you know, I could never ask for a better friend. And then he goes, and that's Order 66 right at that moment. Like, they, like, really, up until that point, as beautiful and amazing as everything was, there's that underlying stress that's building up, because we know what's going to happen because this movie came out 15 years ago. And it's, you know, so it was devastating, but beautifully done.
It was. All the more because the 3 of us were able to get together a few days ago and watch Revenge of the Sith together. And so having that as context for this finale really made it all the more devastating.
Also, talking of the fan response you mentioned, I do want to point out that these last 4 episodes have the ratings of 9.8, 9.9, 9.9, and 9.9 out of 10 on IMDb.
Excellent.
So they are among the highest rated episodes of television.
Who doesn't
IMDb.
like them? Get out of here.
Well, I don't know. I imagine there are some trolls regardless, but I mean, that's nearly perfect ratings for 4 episodes in a row.
You know what was actually an interesting inclusion here is Ahsoka's loyalty to droids and their loyalty to her. You know, like that was a whole thing with R2E back in 2008, and here we are in the last couple of episodes, and they legitimately die for her. They're like, "We've got your back, no worries." It is really something special. These episodes are poetic. I think also it has one of my favorite Anakin moments of all time. Actually, that opening scene where he's just on the bridge walking out and all the troops are underneath the bridge. And he was like, he's just talking. He's like, what are you talking about? And it's like, oh my God, he's so powerful. Like with the 4, like he's having a nothing conversation while dodging blaster fire out of nowhere. Like, so cool.
That's so true.
It made up for a lot of the fact that, made up is a bit, anyway, but it in the Revenge of the Sith, Anakin spends a lot of time basically upset, moping.
Just Revenge of the Sith?
I'm just talking about the time frame that we're dealing with here.
Oh, okay. That's okay. I see. He's very upset in Attack of the Clones most of the time.
Okay, fine. He spends the entirety of
Star Wars,
except for the last like 3 minutes of Return of the Jedi,
and the Phantom Menace. Actually, he's rarely upset in the Phantom Menace.
Yippee!
Yeah.
But he has his moments there too, though. But I was going somewhere. Oh, we got to see Anakin at his most Anakin. Like this was that scene was pure good Anakin just doing what he does and being amazing at it.
And Obi-Wan also being Obi-Wan at the same time. Just like constant like, oh my God. Oh the Force be with me.
I hate it when he does that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is some great stuff. I can't wait to watch it again.
Yep. I may or may not have already started.
I can't wait to watch it again in one sitting, like the whole final arc in one sitting as a movie. You know, skip intro Disney Plus, thank you very much, and just get through it all like a film, like it was probably meant to be.
Yeah, I mean, it was a masterpiece. And I mean, there's some musical cues too, like when right after Order 66 you get like Anakin's dark deeds while Ahsoka's fighting off the clones on the bridge there. It's just, it was soul crushing, but in like the best possible way.
Yeah. I would like to point out just one thing before we wrap up. If we talk about this last scene with Vader and everything like that, I think it's really important to the arc of the Clone Wars that they do show Vader, because there is a completion there. It's in a circle event kind of thing, but also they went as so far as to give him the carbon scarring on his helmet, like you would see in A New Hope, like with the there's like an actual there's. Like in A New Hope, it's like obviously somebody like painted his helmet, you know what I mean, because it's 1977. But it's become carbon scarring, like war torn battle armor, whatever else, and it's there on his helmet.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't his pristine, fresh out of
but
the
it's
end of.
but I'm talking. It's in the same pattern. Like
Same
if you look at his helmet in A New Hope and you look at his helmet in here, it's the same It's the same squish pattern and everything.
Down to the. I mean, even the lenses over his eyes were like you could kind of see through them, like you can in A New Hope.
Yep. Yeah, that's just a beautiful attention to detail that rewards Star Wars fans for being Star Wars fans instead of admonishes them. And I think that's really the key difference between the ending here and other endings.
It very like definitively put a close to the Clone War era by all right, he's sending in an Imperial shuttle that's got nothing, that was not Clone War era ship. Those are stormtroopers, and then you just that last lingering shot of him walking away from the clone trooper helmet in the snow. It was brilliantly executed.
The clone trooper helmet in the snow that has Ahsoka's paint on it. It's not like there's something like this very distinct about that while he's holding the lightsaber that he gave her. His last time seeing her, the last time he saw her, as a good person. So my gosh, what a time before he killed all those younglings. My goodness. Well, anyway, guys, we're way over what would be a normal Beer with Geeks time. So would anybody
it's Star
like
Wars
to?
Day.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, hour 2. I think that we should talk about
execute minute 66.
Is that legal?
I will make it legal.
I could keep going, but I'm not going to.
We
and
won't.
the Jedi there. I just had to say it. Okay, good. Okay.
I sense the plot to this from the Jedi.
Obviously.
You think?
Is this how this episode ends?
Yeah. Very good. Anyway, we're at the end. So would anybody like to add anything, any last bit that they'd like to say? Okay, that's a no. So Frank, take us out.
I got nothing. I got nothing other than to say you can follow us on Twitter at Beer with Geeks. You can email us at beerwithgeeks@gmail.com. You can find us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, anywhere you find your podcast, you can find us. You can rate and review us, and that means a whole lot to us when you do that. It helps the show get discovered by other folks. So please go ahead and do that. Tell your friends and support us. If you can leave us a rating and review, that's huge. Another thing you can do is to support us at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. You can support this show and other shows like Tolkien TV Talk by supporting the Thought Bubble Audio Network on Patreon. So please do that. Other than Tolkien TV Talk, is there anything that, Andrew, you'd like to promote, or Tim for that matter?
J.R.R. Tolkien is a genius, and hopefully the Amazon show will be good.
Seconded.
Seconded breakfast, Andrew. Thank you.
Nice.
I don't think they know about Second Breakfast, Tim.
Well, they would if they listened to Tolkien TV Talk.
We'll record again eventually, I promise, guys.
Yeah, the show's not coming out till 2022 or something like that. So, I mean,
yeah,
we got time.
It's fine.
Yeah, maybe one of our other shows will be done by then, and I won't feel the pressure The pressure. It won't be Beer with Geeks. We're going on forever. But anyway, until next time, cheers.
Cheers.